I'm Scott Bakken with HHA Sports, and today we just picked up a brand new 10-point turbo XLT crossbow. We've outfitted it with our Optimizer Speed Dial, and we've also got a HHA Optimizer single reticle scope mounted to the top of that. So we're on the range. We're going to get our new speed dial and crossbow sighted in together. The first thing to setting up your speed dial once you have it mounted on the crossbow is you're going to want to check and see, depending on the type of crossbow you're shooting, you may need an extension bracket for your speed dial. And what that does is that just extends the actual dial itself out away from the crossbow. So if you're using a cocking aid or a cocking sled, you may need some extra clearance to allow the sled to go in between the crossbow and the speed dial. In this case, with our 10-point XLT, we do not need the extension. Everything mounted right to the crossbow just fine. So we have it set up and we're ready to start shooting. Our first step in sighting in the speed dial is we're going to shoot at 20 yards. And when we shoot at 20 yards, we're going to set the dial of our speed dial to 0, and that's going to be our starting point. Then what we're going to do is we're going to zero our scope to 20 yards. So at 20 yards, we have the dial set to 0, and all of our adjustments are going to be made on the scope itself. So I have my turret caps off. I've already fired a couple shots just to see where I'm hitting, and we're going to fire a shot here and just see whatever adjustments made. So again, we're shooting at 20 yards with our dial set at 0, and we're going to zero our crossbow scope at 20 yards. So all the adjustments are going to be made on the scope itself. So we'll go ahead and take our first shot and see where we're at and then go from there. All right, looks like up and down were pretty good, but we might be just a hair to the left, but we'll run down and take a look, and then we'll make some adjustments from there. All right, so we just went and checked our first shot, and our up and down was perfect, but we were just a hair to the left. So we made the necessary adjustments on our scope. So again, we're at 20 yards. Our dial on the speed dial is set at 0, and we're just sighting in the scope itself. So we're zeroing the scope at 20 yards. So all of our adjustments are being made on the scope. So I made some left adjustments on the scope. We're going to fire our second shot, and this should put us, you know, right where we need to be at 20 yards. So we'll fire the second arrow and see what happens. That one looks pretty good. So now that we got 20 yards sighted in, we're back here at 60. So we sighted in our scope to 20 yards with our dial set on 0. And so we're basically zeroing in the scope to 20 yards. Now we're back at 60. And you know, at 60, we really don't know where we're going to be at, but with your package, with your Optimizer Speed Dial, we give you a chart on the inside of the packaging. So we've looked up the feet per second of our 10-point turbo XLT, which is 324 feet per second. And if you look at the chart that we provide, 320 to 335, we suggest that we start at Mark 38. So that's Mark 38 on our speed dial. So we've gone ahead and adjusted our speed dial from 0, which was at 20 yards, to 38 for 60 yards. So we're going to start at Mark 38, fire a bolt, and see where we're at from there, and then we'll make adjustments. So our first shot at 60 was perfect, left and right. We were about 3 inches high, and that was at mark number 38, which was referenced in the card that came with your speed dial. So again, our crossbow shooting 324 feet per second. We went to the chart. 320 to 330 was mark number 38 on our speed dial. So that's where we started. And with being a couple inches high, I went ahead and made an adjustment from mark 38 to now I'm at mark 36. So I just moved it down two marks, and that should bring us down to where we need to be at 60 yards. So we'll go ahead and fire a second bolt and see where that hits, and then go from there. So we ended up having to make one more adjustment to our dial at 60 yards. We moved our dial from mark 38 to 36, and at 36 we were still about 2 inches high. So we went ahead and moved our dial to mark number 34, and shot a couple more rounds, and that ended up being perfect. So our 2 marks now for finding our yardage tape is 0, which was at 20, and then mark 34, which is at 60. So the tape number that we're gonna need is tape number 34. And with your speed dial comes an entire tape kit. And so you're gonna go into the tape kit, find tape number 34, which is on a card, and we're gonna go ahead and peel off tape number 34. I have my dial locked down at mark number 34, and we're gonna go ahead and lay the yardage tape on top of the setup tape, and we're just gonna match up the 60-yard mark. So we're gonna take the 60-yard mark on the yardage tape and lay it down right on top of mark number 34 and where our brass needle is on the dial. Now that our yardage tape is installed on our speed dial, we have successfully sighted in our crossbow from 20 yards all the way out to 100 yards by the individual yard. I'm Scott with HHA Sports. For more product and instructional videos, check us out online at hhasports.com or visit us on social media at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.